I didn't mean to do it. It was a huge accident. I was even going to get my vehicle's brakes fixed while I was driving. An old man, I assume he was a hitchhiker. He raced out in front of my car, apparently attempting to catch my attention and make me stop. Oh, I tried so hard. I kept pressing the brake pedal and there was no response. I stomped on the pedal, forcing it down as hard as I could in hope that the man that so foolishly darted out in front of my car would still be alive. By the time my car had stopped, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. Had I just killed a man? He'd seemed to fill the space between my ears like it would when I was a child and knew that I'd been caught doing something wrong. A fair distance from the halted vehicle, I saw the man. His tattered clothes suggested that he may have been homeless, and his heavy breathing only could put the idea in my head that he was in great pain. I approached him. I ran to ask him if he was okay. A smile tugs at the corner of his lips and grows into a mad grin. He laughs. It's a bit unnerving and unsettling. Blood begins to drip from his mouth as his insane cackles slowly turn into coughs. He speaks in a hoarse and rattling, dying breath. For so long, I've wanted this pain to end. Now it's yours. A serene smile crept over his blood-stained face and his eyes glazed over with a vacant look of death. I shook him, trying to get him to wake up. I offered to take him to a hospital, but it was too late. His last breath had left him. I took his dying words as the ramblings of a madman, but oh, how wrong I was. Who would I tell about this? The idea of just leaving him out there to have his bones picked clean by wild animals and vultures disturbed me. I pulled the sleeves of my jacket over my hand as to not touch the body. Who knows, he could have been diseased. Whipping my cell phone out of my pocket, I dialed 000. Hello? Hello? I found a body by the roadside. It appears to be the man in his 60s or 70s. No, I don't know who hit it. I really hated lying, but going to jail wasn't exactly on my agenda. You need me to stay here? Okay, no, that's not a problem. So much for that hot date at 9 PM. I then realized that I needed to clean my vehicle off in case there were any traces of blood on it. Fortunately, I had some Clorox wipes in the trunk, partially because of a friend that borrowed my car recently. He had a nasty flu and I wasn't interested in catching it. Wiping off the front of my automobile, just in case, I felt relief. The police and an ambulance showed up, only to tell me that they found no body and it was most likely a trick of the light. My eyes shifted to the location where the man had been. I could only see one thing. A thick layer of dust was lying where he once was. Had it all just been a trick? That was impossible. I felt the car hit him. I held him in my arms as his soul faded from existence, but then a strange feeling began to overcome me. I felt so alive, so awake. Everything seemed so fresh and new. It felt like it all belonged to me. For that moment, the world was mine. No, I couldn't let anyone know. They'd think I was insane. I took it as a rush of endorphins from the relief I felt. I only agreed with the officers, saying that I've been watching too many scary movies or reading too many frightening books, only to laugh lightheartedly. Most of them shook their heads at me as if I were a fool and returned to their vehicles. I got back in my car and resumed getting the brakes fixed as planned. Life continued as usual. The feelings of grandeur hadn't left me yet. I always felt great, at least for a good while. I got married to the person of my dreams. I lived in a nice house. Everything was wonderful. The thoughts of that man soon pushed to the back of my mind as so many good things had come to chase away the nightmares. But only years later did I begin to notice some oddities. The attractive person I once married was slowly growing grey and haggard. I looked no different than I did on my wedding day. Years went by, and I didn't change. My spouse suggested I had good genetics, but I knew it was more than that. Only then did I realize that the old man had cursed me. After I had hit him, he had crumbled to dust minutes afterwards. Years continued, and my spouse began to fear me. Rumors spread about me being a vampire or an immortal, but most of these things were just laughed off. Others said I might have been the subject of some life expansion project, and that was how I could afford such a nice house. Rumors circulated more and more with the passing of the seasons. My spouse left me. I went to the funeral, not looking a day older, but I was shunned by the family. People began to avoid me. I was treated as if I carried the plague. There was only one choice. I had to move on. At this point I was making plenty of money, and finding a new job wouldn't be that hard. I hopped countries multiple times and often struggled with decisions to remarry. I met so many charming people, but I didn't want to see them deteriorate from their youthful beauty into nothing more than frail grey husks. I wanted to keep some of them, and I did, only to know the grief that was to come. I kept them until they shriveled away into no more than skin and bone, buried underneath the ground in caskets. I fell apart more and more. My heart would ache, only to desperately reach out for love again. My euphoria was slowly replaced by misery and depression every day. All I loved would die. All I saw would suffer from eventual destruction. My life was a vessel filled with nothing more than despair. It had become a painful cycle. I would do everything in my power to numb the pain. I turned to drug use. I turned to prostitution and simply tried to fuck away the pain. I tried to kill myself, only to realize that nothing worked. Any attempts only resulted in scars that would seal up as if they had never been. Disease didn't harm me. Nothing hurt me except the loss of anything I had grown to love. The only solution would be complete solitude. I locked myself away and shattered everything I could see my accursed reflection in. That ageless reflection. That God-forsaken reflection. After all of this, I realized what that old man had meant. He wanted to die. He wanted to end his misery. Immortality is not so glamorous after all. But after hearing my tale, do you still want it? Do you want to go through what I have? I believe the only thing able to kill an immortal, of my nature at least, is an act of murder. Please, have mercy. Please, please kill me.